Hello, thank you for taking the time to review my presentation. My name is Kaylee, and today I'll be speaking about the University of North Carolina's recent academic scandal, specifically considering lawful suits and actions that can and have been taken. The NCAA is the National Collegiate Athletics Association, which regulates athletes, institutions, conferences, organizations, and individuals. There are many trending legal issues involving the NCAA. Academic fraud is a huge concern that is always being brought up. Many schools have committed academic fraud and have suffered the consequences by the NCAA coming down hard on them. The University of Notre Dame faced a case of academic fraud in 2014 as well, and countless other schools have. In cases like these, the NCAA brings a lawsuit against the players or coaches or the university. There are other legal issues in which athletes bring a lawsuit against the NCAA, which is the case with concussions, video games, and scholarships. Many players get concussions, especially in football, and believe that they should be helped with medical bills and scholarships, such as the lawsuit O'Bannon brought to the NCAA. Video games are also a trending legal issue with the NCAA because players think that they should make a cut of the money that the video game producers and the NCAA make from their actual player being a part of the game. The specific focus of my presentation is academic misconduct and specifically who can be held liable. The University of North Carolina has recently taken fall for student athletes taking fake classes in order to stay eligible to play their sport. These fake classes have been referred to as paper classes because all that was required of the student was to turn in one paper during the course to receive a passing grade. This is an example of one of the papers that was turned into the AFAM course, which supposedly studies African American studies. If you take the time to read this short paper, you will see that it barely skims the surface of the story of Rosa Parks. This paper was all that was required of a student during the course and was giving a high passing grade. Why is this so important? The scandal has been very popular in every form of media since the findings of a long-time investigation. Academic fraud is taken very seriously and often shows up the most when concerning student athletes. When considering this specific case of fraud, one must acknowledge the timeline. Investigators say these paper classes have been in place for student athletes from 1993 until 2011. This is a very long time for fraud to take place. Numerous coaches, teachers, and athletes have been involved knowingly or unknowingly during this long period of time. Specifically, over 3,100 students took this AFAM paper class during the 17-year-long fraudulent behaviors. Several championships in basketball, football, lacrosse, and other sports can be revoked if it is proven that players helped lead the team to the championship and they were playing ineligibly if not for taking this fake class. This leads investigators to the question of if the coaches were aware of the players taking these paper classes as well. If so, these coaches could and will face expulsion. There are also teachers and the dean of the specific AFAM department in question. Several over this program have already been expelled. Finally, the credits that students receive from this class may be taken away. This means students may no longer have enough credits to hold a degree. Because of this, the university is allowing so many credits free of charge to those students who are a part of this paper class. When first hearing about the UNC academic scandal as a fan, I was worried. I was concerned about what coaches and student athletes were involved. As I began my research, my biggest question was who is legally responsible for this fraudulent behavior and what is going to be done about it. I will do my best to answer each of these questions during my presentation. Athletes who enrolled in fake classes knowingly or unknowingly are not held legally liable, but may be expelled from teams as a result of being ineligible. Athletes may also be stripped of titles and records if it is proven that they were ineligible to play when the act occurred if they were proven to be ineligible without the help of the paper classes. Many former athletes are coming clean about the AFAM classes that they took while at UNC and are asking to be compensated by suing the university. Their success or failure in doing so is not clear yet at this time. Two important UNC players, Michael McAdoo and Rashad McCants, have both been reported to have taken these paper classes in order to stay eligible to play. McAdoo is now in the lawsuit against UNC because of this. McCants was on the 2005 championship men's basketball team during his time of ineligibility, and as a result, that title may be revoked. Former director of the AFAM department, Nyang Oro, was forced to retire in the late summer of 2012, but has recently been indicted for serious fraudulent crime. He was identified as one of two people in charge of the academic misbehavior, the other person being Deborah Crowder, who was the department administrator of AFAM. She retired a few years prior to these findings when the behavior started unveiling and has not been charged yet, but most certainly will be. As a result of the entirety of this scandal, Chancellor Holden Thorpe also willfully resigned, taking responsibility for this scandal. Counselors including Beth, who were signing players up for these paper classes that knew what they were getting the students into, were also fired. Coaches. As a result of this fraud lasting 2 decades, many coaches are involved voluntarily and involuntarily. The football coach, Butch Davis, was fired in 2011 during the beginning of the unfolding of this academic scandal. Former players testified that Davis was aware of the fraud going on in the classroom. In addition to testimony, the majority of those enrolled in AFAM paper classes were football players. During this long scandal, Dean Smith was the head basketball coach in the beginning. Nothing has been said about his knowing of the fraud, but Smith now lives with dementia. Roy Williams claims to be unaware of the fraud taking place, even though his players have been through them. Though Williams' titles may be stripped, he is not currently being charged with anything. Though high-up UNC officials claim to be unaware of the fraudulent academic behavior, there were many warning signs that they should have picked up on, including the majority of football players being enrolled in AFAM studies. The lack of oversight in the department of AFAM also led to this large scandal. As the investigation continues, more and more fraud is uncovered. The NCAA puts academics before athletics. They require athletes to be academically eligible in order to perform. The NCAA has went back and forth about being legally responsible for athletes. During this time of fraud, the NCAA does not defend the athletes for taking fake classes, nor coaches for not knowing about them. The NCAA does not legally defend the university either, though they may be equally at fault. The NCAA's duty is to regulate collegiate athletics. They claim that their primary focus is also academics and then sports. The president of the NCAA, Mark Emmert, claimed that he was shocked to hear of the academic fraud taking place at UNC, but has many skeptics. Some think that Emmert is responsible for knowing about the fraud and doing nothing to stop it because of the increased revenues being brought in by the popular and successful UNC athletics. Regardless, the NCAA did not regulate and make sure players were eligible as they should have. The NCAA must work with the University of North Carolina to clean up this mess because they are both at fault for the academic fraud that took place. What's next? In compliance with Mr. Weinstein, who was the investigator for this case, the NCAA and the university must work together to change many things. First of all, a new public records website must be launched. A faculty group must be added to review student-athlete eligibility and progress towards a degree. UNC must establish a working group to ensure that there are clear channels where people may raise concerns. Advising programs must be reworked in advance for student-athletes. Periodic reevaluation is non-negotiable. Departments will be put in place for this reevaluation. A plan to fix the AFAM department will be implemented immediately. And last, employees who were involved in the scam will be terminated or disciplined. Thank you for your time. And these are my citations where I got all of my information.